Hey guys, Tarke here, and we're joined by no one but Ilden himself. So for this video we are covering Demon Hunters, how Demon Hunters are going to work, some very good news, some very bad news, but let's start with the core character customization. Now again, this is a recap video of what they showed at the systems panel. We'll have a more in-depth video coming up later. So as you can see, they started showing off the core customization systems. As you can see, there are very distinct horn types. You'll be able to change your horns, you'll be able to change your blindfolds, you'll be able to change your skin texture. See how this is more scaly? This one still has the weird scales, but is otherwise mostly normal-ish. The color of your tats, which kind of tats you have, and all of that good stuff. Customization for Demon Hunters is really through the roof. Now, Havoc, there are two specs when it comes to Demon Hunters: Havoc, the DPS spec, and Vengeance, which is the tanking spec. So melee spec, fire with fire. We're now going to look at the Havoc weapons. Now they're going to be using Warglaives, and these are the 5 different Warglaive skins available. So as you can see, you have the base type, which you'll get very early on, the slightly more empowered type. Then you start getting these alternate types coming in later on. Looks pretty cool. In all honesty though, I'm kind of not overly impressed with them. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe in game they look more spectacular, but I don't know. I kind of like the more traditional approach to the glaive, as we have here on our model, where you have, you know, more of a emerald crystalline style rather than purely metallic option. Don't you agree, Ilden? Yes. Whereas for most of these, they have either a metal base to them with some infusion, or they're purely elemental, and I will admit this elemental one is my favourite. What are you doing? Stay there. I've committed to this joke too much now, but anyway, let's just continue with it. So, Fury is the main resource, this purple bar here. Fury will be generated by abilities, and I'm just putting you away now, Alden, sorry. And it'll be used by powerful attacks. Now, the interesting thing about Fury is it's not a standard rage bar, and there will actually be some abilities which generate odd amounts of Fury. What I mean by that is there'll be like a random generation, as we'll see going forward. So Demon's Bite is one such ability. It's melee range instant, a quick attack that causes blah 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 physical and generates 15 to 25 Fury. This is going to be very interesting. This is potentially quite frustrating when it comes to looking at your DPS meters at the end of a fight. Some fights you'll have the perfect RNG and your DPS will be way higher. Other fights, it will be substantially lower. It could be frustrating, it could be interesting. Either way, it's a new mechanic, and it's an interesting way to approach a proc-style generation gameplay. We then go into Chaos Strike, which is a spender. And again, interesting sort of RNG when it comes to Fury here. Slice your target with 25,000 Chaos damage. Critical strikes do not consume any Fury. So in PvP, you might get some really funny one-shots of, well, gibs of spamming buttons and you just getting never-ending spells. It does feel very chaotic. It very much embraces the core fantasy, but balance-wise, it is a bit scary. I imagine that Demon Hunters are going to be very much all over the place, probably leaning on overpowered, but, you know, we've seen some of the other class changes. It seems everything's leaning overpowered, but still, I'm not sure how you would balance burst when it comes to PvP and this kind of a mechanic, but it is interesting. And finally, Throw Glaive, which is a cooldown based move. And the cool thing about this, but I'll get into that later, so throw a demonic glaive at the target, dealing 12,000 physical damage. The glaive can ricochet to 2 additional enemies within 10 yards. Now the cool thing is this will cleave through anything it hits. There's no minimum range on it, so if something's right in front of you, you can throw it, it will bounce. If there's anything to bounce, others will come back to you, but it has potential for cleave, so there might be some very interesting things you could do with in raid encounters, stacking up packs and cleaving the whole pack multiple times if you reposition yourself carefully. In PvP, striking it off people's pets. Very powerful, again, very strong potential for exploitation or clever use of game mechanics. Now, mobility. Demon Hunters are meant to be the kings of mobility, and as we can see here, double jump. Now, the important thing to stress here is you are able to jump again while near the apex of your first jump. By that, they basically mean you jump, you then have a very brief window to jump again. You couldn't, for example, jump off lumber mill, fall 10 yards, then jump again, because you would get into very weird shenanigans with speed boost, rocket jumping off things. You can't do that. It's like a jump and then another jump. We don't know if you'll be able to turn direction midair. That will be kind of interesting, jumping forward then backwards off cliffs and stuff. But, you know, we'll see that very shortly with all the beta coverage coming up. Glide. This really shocked me, and, you know, this is actually, for me, the most interesting part of playing Demon Hunter, or the most attractive part of re-rolling Demon Hunter. So, reduce your falling speed, 1.5 second cooldown. You can activate this ability with the jump key while falling, so it doesn't require a new keybind. This is basically a goblin glider with a 1.5 second cooldown all of the time. Fun times. Vengeful retreat, instant 25 second cooldown. Viciously assault nearby enemies and vault away. Assaulted enemies take 9.7 physical damage and have their movement speed reduced by 70% for 3 seconds. Now, this is a talent from some gameplay I've seen, how that gameplay might change, but this was one of the first talents in the first tree. You had this, a AoE, and then you had a like parrying ability. So there was kind of like defensive-esque abilities which all did some kind of damage. This is defensive-esque in the fact that you physically jump away. Next to it we have Fel Rush, which is an instant 10-second recharge. I believe you have 2 charges on this ability. Rush forward, incinerating anything in your path for 28,000 fire damage. So all of these stuff do damage. They will have multiple purposes in most cases. And what's really interesting about this is that you have the potential for some crazy mechanics. So you jump, vengeful retreat, glide, Fel Rush, glide. Yeah, there's going to be some crazy highlight videos in Rithi Basin when it comes to Demon Hunters. So here's the gliding in action. As you can see, you sprout these Illidan-esque wings out of your back. Looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's basically that. That's what it looks like. Cool. Now, Fel Magic. Again, the whole vibe is Fel and Chaos. So here are some examples of some pretty powerful abilities. So again, these cost Fury and have a much more standard approach. They have a cost and a cooldown. So Chaos Nova, 30 Fury, 1 minute cooldown, instant unleash an eruption of Fel energy, stunning all nearby enemies for 5 seconds. That is a very long stun for an AoE, and it does damage. Sorry, Warlocks and Shadow Fury. I-Beam, 50 Fury channeled. Now this is like a mini skill shot. Basically the way it works is you're locked into the channel, but you can rotate. So if you want to like roleplay as Zod in the end of that Superman film, you can be like, and then someone snaps your neck. Okay, maybe the wrong roleplay example, but yeah, you can move your head and it's kind of like a skill shot. So that's interesting. Now this is the really interesting one for me. This is the one which I was like, wow, that seems kind of stupid. Consume Magic, 20-yard range, instant, 20-second cooldown, kick. This is your interrupt. So they have a 20-second cooldown kick rather than like the standard 12 or 16 seconds. So that's kind of cool. And you go, oh, well, that's balanced in PvP. Maybe, maybe not. Interrupt the enemy spell casting and locks them from that school of magic for 3 seconds. Pretty standard. Generate maximum fury on a successful interrupt. So assuming you get some crazy RNG going back to the ability which was free if you got a crit and you're training a healer, you spam your ability. You get lucky RNG, you get to spam it a few times, you eventually run out of fury, you generate, spend, whatever. You then interrupt their heal, go back to full and go back to spamming. Also, from a PvE aspect, I play a Death Knight and I'm used to AMSing, standing in the fire, using anti-magic shell and getting loads of runic power back. This is basically just like a better version of that on a shorter cooldown, which doesn't require me taking damage, so the healers don't mind it. Yeah, pretty good. But don't you dare steal my kicks. This is going to be very frustrating when you're trying to do like a 5-man or something and someone beats you on a kick. There will be major rage caused in top level raiding guilds because of this ability alone, and it's going to be pretty funny to listen to on TeamSpeak. Now, Metamorphosis, this is the big deal. It's a 40-yard range. Yes, it is a leap. Basically the way it works, there'll be an AoE targeting effect, much like Blizzard, with a 40-yard. It's instant, it's a 10-minute cooldown. Leap into the air and land with explosive force, dealing 8,000 chaos damage to enemies within 8 yards and stunning them for 3 seconds. Upon landing, you are transformed into a hellish demon for 30 seconds, gaining leech and greatly empowering your blade attacks. It's been confirmed you'll gain 100% leech. So imagine you're low HP, you leap away from something to run away, or you leap on your spot, you stun everything around you, you have 100% leech. In that 3-second stun, you're probably full heal with that leech. Yeah, pretty powerful, pretty powerful. It's a DPS increase, it does damage, it's an AoE stun, and it's a heal. This is like the... Oh, and it's mobility. This is like the god move. This has everything in it. So Havoc Demon Hunters are looking pretty tasty. So, I play a tank, right? I was really hyped for Vengeance. I made a Vengeance, that's the tanking speculation video about how I thought Vengeance would work. Turns out, I was right. Ish. But we'll get to that in just a little second. We've got one final ability that I forgot about. Sorry, Spectral Sight is the instant 10-second cooldown you can see through walls. This has a horrible, horrible UI. Ugh, what is that? So as you can see that outline through the wall. That's kind of cool, I guess. But you get this stupid green thing. It doesn't look that bad in the screenshot, but trust me, when I was watching the panel and they showed the video of it, it was like fiery mountain dew all over the screen, burning out your retinas. I guess it's good because you can role play as a demon hunter and your eyes really hurt because you've got this horrible green fire everywhere. Yeah, hopefully they rework that a little bit. Also, one thing to note, while you have this ability active, you move at a greatly reduced speed. They said that in the video you are far slower than normal. They did actually buff this ability, but it will still have a slow attached to the ability. So now, sorry, we get into Vengeance, and I'm really salty about this one. So, Demon Inquisitor. Pretty cool, right? Protective spells. They confirmed not just for yourself, but for your raid. So, as I speculated, we will have raid cooldowns tied to Vengeance tanks. Very interesting to have a raid cooldown put onto a tank. And they inflict pain. Okay. Bit of an odd thing to put into your tanking thing, but whatever. So basically, they are Inquisitors. They use fire. Literal fire, and their whole thing is about how they have fiery whips, and that's one of their abilities, and they inflict agony, and from that they learn secrets, and that makes them a better tank. It doesn't make much sense, but do you know what doesn't make much sense? They said on the panel they don't know how they will do Vengeance tanks. They don't have any idea. They think it will have parry, and that's basically that. So yeah, quite frustrating that we are this close to, you know, beta going out, and the fact that you can play it, but they don't know what they do. This is the Vengeance Metamorphosis. It looks cool. They don't know what this does either. They like the idea of it making you like a tank, and you become really durable. That's as far as they got. Basically, they designed the model first, without thinking about the gameplay. Sorry to end it on a bit of a downer, but at least Havoc looks really cool and really powerful. Hopefully we get an idea of what Vengeance actually works and how it operates, and hopefully Blizzard gets that too. But this is a very stark reminder that that September release date, or by release date, may be a reality. Anyway, sorry for the bad news. I'm Tarke. Here's some sellout. Check out my other BlizzCon videos. There's a lot of them. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.